Hi, everybody. It's me, Sam. This week's lecture, I would do it about sound because the this week's unit is sound. However, there are two things. One, I noticed last week that some of you had some trouble with some concepts of editing. So I want to go over this just at a very basic kind of level and just kind of go through a couple of simple concepts here. But also, I'm shooting a short film on Saturday, and I'm going to interview the sound mixer, who's a good friend of mine and also does a lot of sound effects, and he does mastering, and he does music and scoring for films, for big films as well. Well, big-ish. So I'm going to interview him for another lecture on sound. He's a cool dude. Okay, so this lecture is called When 90 Minutes Isn't 90 Minutes. And we're going to talk about cutting to continuity and a little bit about Soviet montage, which is relevant, although it sounds very, a little shishi or I don't know, something. But it sounds a little complicated, I guess, Soviet montage, but it's really quite simple. And maybe we'll talk about some other stuff. Okay, so first, cutting to continuity. Here's a picture of my daughter Ruby and her pal Lyndon in the wagon, and she's pretty excited to be there. But let's talk about a story that I call The Commute. Let's say I made a movie, and in the movie, I get my daughter ready to go someplace. We're going to go to the coffee shop. And at the coffee shop they serve donuts, so it's like her favorite place on earth. And I'm going to take her in the wagon. I'm going to pick up her friend Lyndon on the way. And that's a sequence that's going to happen. Now, without editing, that would essentially take the whole movie, right? Any of you have kids know how impossible it is to get out the door, first of all, and then how long it takes to get anywhere, especially on foot. So, if there was no editing involved, you would watch me fight with my daughter about putting her shoes on, fight with my daughter about getting her sunscreen on. All of this would be in real time. After, 1 minute of this, you would get so bored watching this kind of situation. And you see my point here. Honestly, watching a kid take a long wagon ride is cute for about a minute. Maybe less. Just being honest. So, cutting to continuity is about compressing time in a film. Now, let's take the same film and add some cutting to continuity. Basically, that just means I'm trying to create continuity in this film. Here's how we'll start. I'll have one shot. I say, Ruby, let's get our shoes on. And then that takes 1 second, maybe, for me to say that. We cut immediately to me slipping one shoe on. We cut immediately to me walking out the door and Ruby following me with her little umbrella that she always carries around. We cut to her crawling into the wagon. We cut to me walking down the street with Ruby, probably in real time, minutes later. We cut to me stopping in front of Lyndon's house, looking up at the door, seeing his mom. She waves. We don't even mess around with me talking to the mom, because that, as you know, as parents, is another 30 minutes of film that we'd have to account for. So then we cut from me at the door, looking at the mom, waving. We cut straight from there to Lyndon in the wagon, me walking, pulling them along, and then we cut to the two of them sharing a donut at the coffee shop, me at the counter asking for a coffee. This whole sequence in real time would have taken, again, an hour or 40 minutes or something, depending on, how much of a fight Ruby put up. But in my film, this sequence would have taken 15 seconds, possibly. But it creates the illusion, check mark, the illusion that you've just witnessed this whole sequence. You don't even have to think about it. It just comes and it goes. So next time you watch a movie, I want you to watch for that cutting to continuity and consider how long this film would be that you're watching if there were no edits. Okay, so speaking of illusion, this is Soviet montage. Now, I'll sort of simplify it a little bit, but the idea that they came up with was that two shots juxtaposed together with an edit create a third meaning. So let me explain. Here's an example. Let's say we have a picture of a guy, and he's very thin, and it's a close-up, let's say. All you see is his face, and maybe the tops of his shoulders. And his eyes are a little bulgy. He's, like I said, very thin. His mouth is maybe just slightly agape. He's looking slightly off camera at something. Okay, so there's one shot. Let's say the next shot is this. Okay? Depending on what the guy's face looks like, you might create a meaning out of this sequence. Even though these two shots are totally unrelated. Let's say the guy wasn't even in the room. I just happened to show you a picture of him and a picture of food. You would make assumptions about that dude. You might assume that he was hungry or that he was starving. And you might even tell the whole story. You might take these cues and just accept this illusion, and there you suddenly have a story. Now let's say that the guy, same picture, instead of showing you food after I show you the guy, I show you a little girl on a swing. She's very happy. You might think that the guy is longing for his daughter, or he's full of paternal pride, or something like that. You're still going to make an assumption about him based on the next shot. Now let's say you see the same guy, and then I show you a picture of a coffin. You might assume that this man is in mourning. All right, so the cutting, the putting these two disparate images together creates a particular meaning. So that's another sort of basic concept of editing, and that's very important. That editing isn't just about cutting to continuity and making sequences, or compressing time. It's really about creating meaning and creating new meaning. And you've heard the term reaction shot. That makes jokes funnier. It makes things more terrifying. It creates tension. The reaction shot, when you go from one shot to the shot of somebody giving a reaction, basically, that makes the whole sequence something more than it is without putting it together. Let's see what I have next. So there are a couple of shots that we talked about last week as well, but a couple of shots that are really relevant to editing itself. And there's the master shot. This is an okay example of a master shot, but a master shot, basically, the camera, they back it all the way up in the scene. They just back it up. And so you get to see the whole scene, usually from one static shot, meaning the camera doesn't move ever. You get to see the whole scene unfold right in front of you with all of the characters involved on camera. Okay. Now what happens is you do an establishing, which is another word for master shot. You do a master shot or an establishing shot like this, where you see everyone at the table, and this guy says, "I don't want sausage," and she says, "Come on, Dad," whatever. And it's been a while since I've seen that movie. And then you cut in. You don't, in the full movie, you don't see this shot or this scene in only one shot. You go from this then you cut in to her, say as a close-up, like this, saying, "Come on, Dad, we're just trying to make the best of a bad situation," or whatever. And he says, "I don't care," and you cut to him, and it's a close-up. So the master shot, or the establishing shot, usually it's just comes at the very top of the scene. You can cut from the master to what they call coverage. You get the whole scene as a close-up on her, and you get the whole scene as a close-up on him, and maybe you get the whole scene with these two delivering their lines. So the camera goes in, here, it comes here, it comes over here, and then the editor at the end takes all of those pieces and smushes them together to create the scene and to create new and interesting meanings and give them reaction shots and all that stuff. Here's essentially a two-shot. Call it a medium or even a close two-shot. That's something you can cut into from the master shot and get the whole sequence. Okay, so that's our basic editing, and there's a lot more. And I want you to ask me questions. If you are ever confused about this, shoot me an email. Give me a call. Shoot me a text. I absolutely love hearing from you guys. So, with that, I will leave you. But also, anyone seen any good movies lately? Let me know.